welcome back. We're being joined on the program by the Managing Director, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, Mr. Abba Aliyu. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Aliyu, good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm kind of excited with this conversation because the last one we had was super productive. We had you, firing from all cylinders, telling us what you will do, what you will do in 6 months, what you will do in 1 year. What led to that, for the purpose of the audience, is the fact that you had this fantastic blueprint.
Absolutely.
And a roadmap. And we're like, okay, that's great. It sounds brilliant on paper. But how about we checking on you? How have you been, by the way?
Yeah, we're doing very well, progressing, have commenced implementation of the roadmap. Okay. And in our last conversation, you asked what to expect in 1 year. And I put the challenge back to say that, no, should it even be 1 year, it should be 6 months. I will come back in 6 months, and I have made a number of commitments.
Okay, so let's begin from there. Let's start straight up.
Yes.
So our producer is going to bring us. So this is the conversation we had with Mr. Ali, I think on February the 11th, this year, and we're telling him we need a 1 year roadmap or 1 year response to some of the things you have said you will implement. He said, no. In 6 months I'll be back right here to tell you what I've done already. So let's take a listen to him on what he said that day.
It should be in the next 6 months. Engage me in 6 months.
Okay.
It should be on record.
Deal.
Engage me in 6 months. Let me return 6 months
so
from
tell us
now.
Where we are. Where we're going.
I will tell you that before the next 6 months, we would at least commission 60 mini-grids. 60 mini-grids in this. I will also in the next 6 months, I will tell you that I have started a process of deploying interconnected mini-grids, 40 interconnected mini-grids, for us to create reliability. I will also come here and tell you that I have started a process of deploying mini-grids in additional 5 universities. And I would tell you also that in the next 6 months that I have completed at least minimum two of the 8 mini-grids that I'm deploying in the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospitals. I may do much more than the 2, but I'm telling you minimum of 2. And I will also tell you that I've started another 5 interconnected mini-grids. I will also tell you that in the next 6 months that I have started solarizing the public sectors. Right, we're looking at maybe some key government parastatal in Abuja and maybe outside the Abuja. I will tell you those that I have already started. And in 1 year, also be on record, I will complete the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital. I will complete the interconnected mini-grids.
For those, for 8 universities, you mean?
For the 8 universities.
Okay, we're back to the day of accountability. So in case you missed out, let me reel it out to you. You said in 6 months, 60 mini-grids will be commissioned, 40 interconnected mini-grids deployment will be in progress, 5 universities mini-grid deployment in progress, 2 mini-grids completed out of 1 of the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital. Public sector solarization, and in 1 year, talked about 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital. So let's start with your list.
Yes, so starting with the isolated mini-grid, the 60 mini-grids that I promised to deliver. Currently, we have delivered 91. 91 isolated mini-grids have been deployed.
You have exceeded the target?
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Right, so that's the first. The second one also concerning the 8 universities, I said minimum of 2. We have completed all the 8, but we are only conducting technical testing of 4. So 4 technically been completed. We are doing the technical testing of these 4 universities. That is the one in Yola, the one in Dusima, Katsina, the one in Lokoja in Kogi, and the one in Imo in Owerri State, Imo State in Owerri. So that has been completed. For the interconnected mini-grids, We are currently working on deploying 42 interconnected mini grids. That process is also ongoing, and we have completed 6 already, 6 of the interconnected mini grids that have been completed. One in Oshun, in Plateau, in Cross River, and in Niger Lambata. That also have been completed. As regards to the new set of universities under the National Public Sector Solarization Initiative, we have signed the collaborative agreement with the universities under the leadership of the Minister of Education, where we are looking at powering, like I mentioned, University of Lagos, University of Benin, University of Ibadan, Obafemi Awolowo, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Federal University of Dutse in Jigawa State, Federal University Wukari in Taraba, and Ahmadu Bello universities. And recently, if you check the approval that was granted by the FEC, the one before the last, you will see that Federal Executive Council had granted approval for the deployment of all this mini grid in these universities. So this is to come back to tell you that there are genuine government officials under the leadership of Mr. President that are committed of doing their job, and they are doing their jobs, passing even the expectation. And that is why I'm here to give you that account.
Interesting. So for you, you have surpassed a lot of the promises you have made. But let's go granular on this one and basically understand how this works. All right, and the sustainability of it, then the impact of it, because we can put all of these numbers, all of the projects out there, and if there's anything we've seen a lot in Nigeria, there are projects. You see the commissioning, the ribbon cutting, and you visit these communities just days after, and it's almost like nothing happened. Either the project has been taken away, it's not working for them. So speak to us about, first, the structure of this. Is it solely government? How are they going to be paying for this? What are they going to be paying? Because we know that the public sector sometimes drags their feet to go into rural areas. But so this doesn't work for us. It doesn't pay us. We need to make money. And this is almost charity in that sense. So what is the structure of this?
A very good question. So the structure, if you also remember the last conversation I had with you, we build the structure around the private sector. Like I said, that the Minister of Power is a finance guy. So in all the structure, in all the infrastructure we are deploying, we deploy a commercially viable infrastructure. So what we are doing is moving away from the concept, the traditional concept of government issuing contracts. No. What we are doing is incentivizing the private sector using capital grants to incentivize them to go to these communities and deploy the infrastructure. The reason behind that is two key critical advantage. One is that the private sector will have a skin in the game, will have their own money deployed, plus our capital grant, which means that the private sector have the responsibility of ensuring that the infrastructure works over a period of time for them to get to pay off the debts that they collected and put into the project, and for them to even get some level of IRR over a period of time. Yeah. So that is why our projects works. And I do tell you that, you see, it's a myth to continuously think that government infrastructure are deployed and you go back and you find them not working. And I do challenge REA's project, more especially the ones that are under the private sector, and even those that are EPC driven are working. Recently, I and the Minister of Works, we were in Ebonyi. There's a project, if you go to the university, Alex Ikweme University in Ebonyi State, that has been there for 5 years. If you go there, the entire university is getting their own electrons from that mini grid that has been deployed 5 years. The same thing go to University of Makurdi. So the whole thing, that cliche of projects deployed not working, it's really not the true reflection of what it's applicable when it comes to the kind of project that we are deploying.
So this part of me is private sector driven.
Yes.
That way, at least you're sure that they're up to the task. They're following up with this.
Absolutely.
So for the urban areas, for example, electricity is 200 naira per kilowatt hour plus. How much is it for those rural areas in that sense?
So for the rural areas also, like I mentioned, you see, the tariff is a function of the total cost of the infrastructure you deploy. So in some communities, if we go to these communities, we'll find out that maybe the state government had already put some poles, right? So we just deploy the generation plant and make use of the existing structures to power that. In that regard, you will see that the tariff is very low because it reduces the cost.
Up to 50?
Yes. In some areas also, there are projects that there is lack of infrastructure completely, which means that we have to deploy the generation plant, do the distribution network, put the metering, and deploy our SCADA. SCADA is always a compulsory. SCADA gives us an opportunity for us to monitor the performance of the mini grid. So in that regard, you see that the mini grid, the tariff, it's a bit high. Recently, I was in Gombe State, Balanga, a community that has been in existence, a wheat farming community has been, I said, since IBB period. In fact, I was told that IBB was at the community to incentivize wheat farming during his tenure. This is a community that has 11,000 hectares of wheat farming, fertile soil. But there was no existence of any infrastructure to enable them to do that wheat farming till this administration. We went with UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and REA to deploy 620 kilowatts of a hybrid infrastructure, 320 micro hydro and 300 solar, to give them that kind of electricity. In that kind of community, the tariff is going to be very low because the UNIDO take cost of the hydro cost, and we will take care of the solar. So in that regard, there are a lot of nuances that determine the tariff, but what the government is doing is subsidizing the capital cost for the tariff to continue to be low. And for government projects that are not tied to private sector, recently the minister approved the creation of renewable asset management company, which would be like the NDIC of the power sector. So what this renewable asset management company would do is, one, we incentivize another ecosystem of operation and management under the power sector. So if the government build the asset, for example, the one we built in the university, or the one that we already built at the universities, this renewable asset management would go ask the private sector to who are specialized in operation and maintenance to now bid for the operation and management of that asset on their behalf. So that is it. So that means that we are creating new ecosystem of companies that specialize in renewable operations and management. The second thing that this renewable asset management will do is to now, in the event of any failure of either the private sector that is managing it, to take over the asset and refurbish it and lend it back again. So, and thirdly, more importantly, is all these assets. Government have assets, but we are not taking advantage of the asset. So this renewable asset management would take all this asset and put it on its balance sheet and use the balance sheet to raise more funding to continue to deploy this infrastructure.
That model, it reminds me, I think it just, watch the model you're explaining now, makes me remember at, what's this agency under NMDPR, Nigeria Midstream Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, which primarily what they do is, not like they start an initiative per se, but they fund to incentivize in terms of having equity investment so that the sector can grow and bring in more people as a player. But one question you've not answered is how much people, I know you tried to, so give us an average for the very rural areas. For urban areas, those of us who are on Band A, we pay, is it over 200 naira per 50 kilowatts of whatever, what's
kilowatt hour.
A kilowatt hour. That's on the urban area. So what's the average they pay in the rural area? That's on one hand too. I would like you to also respond. What's the mix like, the energy mix? Is it solar or is it solar and any other mix? So just give us that response.
So there are communities, there are rural areas, rural of the rural, that pay tariff much more than what you are even paying in Band A. And they are paying.
What do you mean by
our
that?
collection, there are areas that the tariff is even close to 250, 280.
And they load with token?
Yes, well, absolutely. Token. They use their mobile phone to pay for the electricity and they enjoy it. But there are areas that the tariff is less than what you pay in Band A. Like I told you, it's subjective on the total cost of infrastructure that we deploy within those communities. That is one. Two, to the second question, the mix. The most economically viable model now is the solar that we have seen. There are others that we are still discussing, wind, biomass. We tried biomass, but when we see the cost of logistic of moving the garbage from where they have been dumped to the processing zone and processing it, the tariff was way above the limit that we can allow. And that is why we are yet to incentivize that. But for the wind, we are discussing, we just last week signed an MOU with the Nigerian Wind Energy Council for us to start looking at small wind infrastructure that are economically viable, that the tariff will be within the allowables range. If we get that, we'll start deploying other means of generation.
Interesting. I want to also situate this conversation because there are a lot of people looking at you right now and thinking, oh, this is man responsible for us not having lights for the past 1 week.
Not exactly.
So let's situate where you play in the whole sector, because I find this very important from time to time. It's important to situate it. So where do you play in the sector, and who should come to you if they have problems? Who should go to the discos if they have problems? Let's situate where you operate.
Rural Identification Agency operates off-grid. If you have a problem with disco, it's not our problem, right?
Oh.
Communities, Nigeria has the highest number of people without access. And this is the first time that I'm saying the president government, under the leadership of Mr. President, that Nigeria has a structured means of saying that, okay, let's deal with this nonsense of saying we have the highest number of people without access. I saw an Instagram post by economists where they talked about how many Nigerians without access, that we have the highest number. In the entire world, apart from India, there's no country that has designed a structured means of getting people out of electricity poverty like what we are implementing now. The distributed access through renewable energy scale up, 750, the biggest project ever in the world, public project in the world to provide electricity to 17.5 million Nigerians. That is the people that should come to me, right? But we also have been added with another responsibility to create reliability. For those that are on Band E and D, not you, those are the people that get maybe less than 4 hours. We also work to help them create reliability. And that is the essence of the interconnected mini grid that I told you about.
So that interface between the main grid and
exactly. Okay. So we go to, they already have the main grid.
Okay.
So we go to those peri-urban areas, deploy the generation plant and connect it with the mini grid. We sign a service level agreement with the disco. During the day, we use the solar to give them electricity, which means that we can assure them at least 10 hours of electricity, additional 10 hours. Then during the night, we use the battery for some hours, additional 4 hours. Then we now say that the disco should now come in after the first 4 hours, right? So that gives them additional, moving them from 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, to at least minimum of 16 hours. And if the disco commit to the service level agreement, they can get up to 24 hours of service. That is what we do in that regard. Okay,
important to situate that. So if you are Band A, B, C, don't come to him.
Absolutely.
If you are in Band
D and E,
This is your man.
Or if you don't have electricity at all.
This is your man.
In your village.
So let's be clear. Are you contesting the figure that says 90 million Nigerians do not have access to electricity? Are you saying that's not true?
No, I'm not contesting that. Okay. I'm saying that we are now addressing that number. For example, under the Nigeria Electrification Project, we provided electricity to 8 million, and I can give you the data.
So where we subtract it from the 90 million?
Oh, absolutely.
So we are reducing it's 82 million.
Yeah, and I just told you that we have now just one program that is targeting 17.5, which I told you in the last program that we will complete that project in 3 years. So by 3 years, 17.5 will be out.
Sorted.
In the Japan, the visit of Mr. President, if you see what the Minister of Power mentioned in terms of what he's doing in Japan, he mentioned that part of the discussion is 190 million funding, co-financing by JICA to REA for the distributed access. That would also provide electricity to additional 1,830,000 Nigerians. So you should add that 1,830,000 to the 17.5. We are working also on the e-Hearts project that would target additional 16 million, but we have not yet gotten the financing for that. Before the end of this government, definitely that number would be drastically reduced.
So Mr. Aliyu, as we need to wind down, so let's do a few things. Afterwards, you're going to give us all your data.
Yes.
So that we can publish it.
Yes.
So that all the places you claim you've installed mini grids, the people can go and verify and get back to us, because we can't be everywhere. But for the big ones,
without quoting you, that data had already been provided. We came ready with the data. So as I'm speaking, we have already provided to the production crew of this.
We'll be showing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
just to
we're going to publish confirm so that
with the names already of all the
so that Nigerians who live in the areas you claim will be able to get back to us. But more importantly, the 8 universities, I think you mentioned them. You mentioned about 4 already being tested.
So there are 8 that.
So I want you to go back to that for context, because that one is easy to trace.
Yes, exactly. So those 8 are: 1, University of Port Harcourt, almost 11 megawatts, plus the teaching hospital. There is Lokoja, Federal University of Nigeria in Lokoja. There is the Federal University in Nasarawa Lafia. There is the one in Yola. There is the one in Dusima in Katsina State. That is 5. There is
the one in Wukari.
No. Dusima, Katsina. Wukari is Taraba. We have not started Taraba. So I've mentioned 5. There is. Did I mention Imo?
No.
There is Imo Federal University of Technology.
That's
in
Futo.
Imo. Futo. If you go there, you see whooping 7 megawatts, and we are doing technical testing. There is Federal University of Agriculture, I think, in Ondo. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not combining the two, there is either the one in Ondo or the one in Akure. That is the 7th one. There is one more.
But fair enough. 7 is...
but there are 8 of them complete.
You can always send us the rest.
Yes.
So it's very interesting. Private sector driven, so they're playing a huge role in this. The solar panels, are they mostly...
It's very important to also mention that importation of solar panels is being reversed. Before the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the country only has 120 megawatt of PV panels assembly in the country by a company called Exano here in Lagos. But as at now, we have over 600 megawatts. There is a new one living in Ikotun that has started 150. There's 250 by JRV in Abuja. There's another 150 by JK Solars Canada in Idu. And we also have signed new phase of development. REA has signed with Owando for 1 gigawatt PV panels.
So solar panels will be manufactured
here. Yes, manufactured. We also signed with Infraco for 1.2 gigawatt. So now, in terms of what is actually being assembled and manufactured and what's in development, the country is looking at close to 3 gigawatts. So that is being reversed.
But what is our need? What do we need as a nation?
The need, if we were looking at current phase at which we are implementing, we're looking at around 10 gigawatt capacity. But if we are even to look at what it needs to address the entire thing, it's far more than that. And that is why now, in October 14th and 15th, we are doing the first Nigerian Renewable Energy Innovation Forum, where we are going to bring the existing people that are in manufacturing, those that want to invest, those that do not even have interest but they are in the manufacturing. We are bringing them all to Abuja for the first time to discuss what are the recommendations, what are the things they need for the government to change for us to catalyze this kind of investment. Should we copy from India or what Turkey have done, put anti-dumping policy or put some localization? This is what we intend to do. At the end of that forum on the 14th and 15th of October in Abuja, Transcorp Hilton, we want to sieve out what we are going to put to the government to implement for us to continue to incentivize this manufacturing of PV panels and batteries in the country.
There's another part I'd like you to speak to. I think you spoke to it in passing, but I'd like to be in terms of specific so that feedback can come and all of that, which has to do with high impact area industrialization or solarization, as you call it. At their places, for instance, I'm talking about belts, I'm talking about food belts, agricultural belts. Are you targeting those areas? Because storage and silos are a bigger problem for us. We produce all these things and we can't store them. So is the REA also looking in that direction, besides tertiary institutions and villages, high impact belts? And which are they?
Absolutely. Very good question. Yes. In fact, we designed a specific program called Energizing Agriculture Program, focusing in agricultural clusters or agricultural producing areas or agricultural processing areas. In fact, we just completed also another set of about 6 mini grids within those clusters. So it's going to be, it's either, for example, the one in Jos Plateau State, Kwampam, is an agricultural processing area where we deploy the mini grid to support those processing the rice that is being farmed within that areas. In the one in Bunkure in Kano is an agricultural production to give them an opportunity to do farming of rice 247, 12 months in a day, 3, 5, 6 a year.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Ali, I know if we allow you, you're going to keep going. He's a media man.
I will send you the bill for the event.
No, definitely. Channels will be part of that.
Definitely. We're proud of what you're doing. A young person in government doing his bit. And as soon as we get all of the feedback, we're going to also communicate with you. And we're back again February, right?
Yes, absolutely. So
we have a 6-monthly engagement with you to follow up. And I think this is what we should be doing with the agencies of government.
When you make promise, we follow up.
So thank you for keeping to your promise.
Thank you very much.
For coming through at least to give us heads up on what you've done and what you're about to do.
Let the public know that I brought myself, not that you call me back.
Yes, for the record, yes, I agree. So for the record, he said, you told me to come back in 6 months. I'm not ready for you. So it's not like...
to knock our door.
Yeah, you came to seek our... said, I'm coming to you. I am ready for you. So thank you. Good job. Abba Liu, MD CEO, Rural Electrification Agency. Thank you for joining us on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.